Hi, my name is Eric Yeager, and I'm going to explain to you my internship, Implementing Technology into PE and Health in the Digital Age. Some quick background on me. I received my Bachelor's of Science with a focus in physical education from Towson University. I currently work for Baltimore County Public Schools as a middle school phys ed and health teacher. I have been the physical education and health department chair for the last 4 years, and I also serve as my school's athletic advisor. I'm currently enrolled at Loyola University of Maryland, pursuing my Master's of Education in Educational Technology. So the reasoning behind my internship is, first, we have been on virtual learning since the spring, and now with the start of this school year, the students are being held responsible for their learning, which means the expectations of them is higher, which means the expectations on teachers is higher. And then phys ed is historically a psychomotor-based content where a lot of it is movement and skill-based. So we really have to reimagine how we teach, but also show learning in the virtual realm for phys ed. The third reason is I am a department chair, which means I can meet with my staff. I have a lighter caseload, so I can use that time to perform informal observations and just help out my department. And finally, BCPS has increased their tech hub just in terms of the amount of technology tools that they have offered us. So we really need to take advantage of that. So for my internship, there were 3 participants overall. Participant A is a 19th year teacher. She only teaches PE this year. There is a high discomfort level with technology with her, but it is my 6th year working with this team member, so her and I have a great rapport. Participant B is in his 13th year teaching. He's only teaching phys ed this year. However, he also has a high discomfort level with technology, and this will be my first full year actually working with him. My final participant is in his 16th year. He is our health educator. His discomfort level with technology isn't quite what it is with my other 2 department members. He's a lot more willing to work with technology. However, this is my first year working with him, but he does have a larger caseload, so he will work with me as he needs to. I had 3 internship outcomes, and they were: number 1, by December 2020, given demonstrations and coaching, participants will be able to create and edit their own assessment on our learning management system, Schoology, with alignment to state standards to allow for multiple means of representation to demonstrate student understanding. Number 2 was by December 2020, given demonstrations and coaching, students will implement breakout groups during a synchronous lesson through Google Meets with students practicing our code of conduct norms within the rooms, providing feedback in the rooms, and having students move to the main room upon closing the breakout groups. And then my 3rd internship outcome was by December 2020, given demonstrations and coaching, teachers will use different types of technology resources to allow students to record themselves demonstrating psychomotor activities and give feedback on that platform. A few weeks into my internship, I decided to eliminate my original outcome 3 and switched my new outcome 3 to, by December 2020, given demonstrations and coaching, teachers will use the Google Drive to assign materials and tasks for students to complete synchronously while giving feedback in real time to students working through the document. It was the week of October 5th that my internship was approved, which means I could start my coaching role in my internship, which includes weekly department and co-planning meetings. It means modeling the use of technology tools. It means informal observations and just problem solving with my staff as issues arise. In that first week, I felt it was really important to take the temperature of my participants. So I created a Google form just to see about how my department was feeling with implementing this technology. I wanted to ease anxiety, but this was also a chance for me to model a piece of technology that they could use. So I used this Google form just to ask them how introducing new technology made them feel, and also to explain so I could really address all of their concerns. As we progressed through our co-planning meeting, we felt it was really important to also take the temperature of our students. So we collaboratively created this Google form that we agreed to push out to all of our classes. And this form just really gauges 5 different types of technology, asking the students if they have used them, yes or no, and then also asking them of those 5 technologies, what are they most comfortable with and why? And we were planning on really using this as a data point in our next co-planning meeting, so we could start with something that the students were comfortable with and then transition to the pieces of technology that either might meet the outcomes of this internship or that would be most effective for our students and showing their learning. It was in between October 5th and October 24th where we were really noticing as a department a lot of the struggles that students were having with recording their Flipgrid submissions, whether it was in our class or other teachers' classes. And actually, one of my department members spent almost a whole class period trying to coach his class through that. But after we came back and talked as a group, we really nixed the idea of trying to use Flipgrid or VoiceThread to have students show their achievement with psychomotor skills. So it was that week of October 19th, I nixed the original outcome 3, which focused on that use, and implemented the new number 3, which was more of implementing assignments through Google Drive and providing feedback that way. Some other observations that I had from that week is just time is limited for me and my staff in terms of trying to teach tech tools to students while also focusing on content. We only meet with our classes once a week for 50 minutes, where my department teaches 11 classes throughout the week and I teach 9, so I have limited opportunities for informal observations as well. Our communication expectations with family and students this year has actually increased. So my department really does not have free time during their planning of where we could meet and talk about any barriers that are arising, because instead they have to reach out to students and meet with them to make up assignments or reach out to multiple families. Each of us in the phys ed department teach 1/3 of the school, so it's almost 300 students on our caseload. So right now my teachers are really feeling overwhelmed, but there is progress being made. Some of that progress was made was my department analyzing the feedback from our Google form that we had the students fill out about the comfort level that they had with different technologies and if they had ever used that technology as well. Additionally, my 2 phys ed department members collaboratively created a summative assessment on Schoology, our LMS, and had aligned the questions with state standards. So that really shifted towards achieving one of my outcomes. Some highlights from the last week in October and the first week in November included, we were provided with our first opportunity to really implement breakout rooms in a lesson, as one of my department members had planned his lesson for a formal observation, which involved using breakout rooms for students to perform in different types of target games that they could make with objects that they have at home. Later in that week, we also had our new Google Meets activities features drop, which included breakout rooms within our original Google Meets, a polls feature, which is pictured to the right, and a Q&A feature. The reason that this was really important is because prior, we had to make individual Google Meet rooms and give kids those codes in order for those to enter them, whereas now we can just make breakout rooms within our main Google Meet page and it will send the students there directly. These 2 weeks had no formal meetings with my department members. Since the week of the 26th, I met individually with my one member who had the formal observation, just so that way we could work on refinement of his lesson and ensure that the technology being used was A, appropriate, and B, just to make sure that he was implementing it in the most efficient way of where it met student needs, so we could show their understanding of the lesson. And then the week after that, we only had a 4-day week, and unfortunately, during 4-day school weeks, our collaborative planning time gets cut. One thing I did notice through informal observation and then the formal observation is that there is a little bit of a disconnect in terms of what we have been planning in phys ed and the implementation from my teachers, where we talk about how it should look and they talk about how they want to use it in their lesson, and then they really just deviate from what we had talked about. So moving forward, I was really thinking about reintroducing SAMR, which is something that was talked about at the start of the school year. Highlights of the week of November 9th and some observations as well were we were really focusing on pushing towards the transformation stage in SAMR, so that was a large focus in our department meeting, and it seemed like my department after that really understood meaningful technology in lessons. There was also departmental feedback on the breakout room implementation after our previous week of implementing breakout rooms in our lessons. So that would show that my outcome 1 is accomplished. And then also in that meeting, we collaboratively designed formative assessments and a summative assessment that was aligned within the state standards. So that is once again shifting towards the accomplishment of my outcomes. Here are those 2 assessments, and they will also be pushed out through the Google Drive, so that way the net wall games similarities and differences worksheet, that's something that my teachers can view as the students are working through it, or even see if they opened up that assignment and they can give feedback while those students are working on that document. The week of November 16th was very important in my internship because as I was heading through for informals, I really noticed that my teachers were struggling a bit in terms of not just with their pacing of their lesson, but implementing the technology and still having the class run smoothly. I also had noticed that even though my department had planned on pushing out these worksheets through Google Drive, it wasn't happening at the start of the week. So I gave my teachers the opportunity to drop in when they weren't teaching and watch me teach that lesson. And I even received some feedback from one of my members. And later on in the week, he went in and he sort of taught in a similar way that I had after assigning those worksheets through the drive. And he came back with positive feedback and really enjoyed how that worked. So in this week's department meeting, we really focused on next week implementing that Google Drive assignment right away. So we ended up creating an escape room through Google Slides where students would work through that by entering rooms and completing tasks in a Google form. And then once they completed and submitted that, it would unlock the next for them. The week of November 23rd was really tough. We had implemented the escape rooms, and I was hearing great things were happening on Monday and Tuesday. And then when we came to wake up on Wednesday, we found out that our system had been attacked with a virus. So all teaching was shut down immediately. I was able to meet with one of my department members through Zoom and receive her feedback from the implementation of the escape rooms. And it was all very positive in terms of being able to track student progress or even see if students had opened up the initial Google Slides. So my teachers are really starting to understand the importance of assigning through the Google Drives so they can track student work, but also prompt when needed or give appropriate feedback. So moving forward, that will definitely be one of our focuses in our co-planning meetings, just how we can keep implementing assignments through Google Drive in order to promote student engagement and student submission. So a few reflections from my internship. First, some glows. My department was very willing to participate in this. And I really enjoyed, especially at the end, the results that they saw with Google Drive and how they're very willing now to use Google Drive each week. I also enjoy how they do understand the SAMR framework a little bit more, and they do want to move towards that transformation stage. And also just from co-planning every week, it really grew cohesion within my department. But some barriers that just always popped up. First off, time. We just always seemed short on time. It seemed like those 4-day weeks kept happening, so we just didn't have time to co-plan, and then just everything in terms of grading, reaching out to families, time just really wasn't on our side. There was that discomfort with technology implementation from my department, but that discomfort lessened as we went along, but it was still there a little bit at the end. And then that cyber attack at the very end of my internship, that sort of threw things for a loop because all of us had lost things and sort of hurt morale. But we do have that cohesion, so hopefully that will keep pushing us in the right direction as we move on. For my steps moving forward, I really want to continue meeting on that weekly basis and even try for when we have 4-day weeks, just finding like an hour's worth of time just to meet and talk things through. I really want to have my department keep reflecting and identifying each week where our technology implementation falls on SAMR, because it really does help their understanding, and it does help enhance their lessons because we're using technology more appropriately now in our lessons. I personally want to increase the time I dedicate for informal observations so I can help out my teachers, but that also comes with the hope that my other duties sort of lessen so I have that time. I want to continue to assist teachers in running breakout rooms, so use those informals to help out there as well, just to help them gain that confidence with using them. And I want to encourage other contents to really start using VoiceThread and Flipgrid and even coach them through it, just because a lot of our other contents do meet with students twice a week. So they have a little bit more time with them of where maybe they could dedicate that class time to introducing those tools.